As far back as I can remember, I used to bounce a Spalding ball. Anybody remember Spalding balls? Those pink rubber balls against the brick wall of my house outside. And all the time I was doing that, and I could do it for hours at a time. I don't know what my mother thought I was doing. I was having stories going round and round and round inside my head. But I never told anybody about my stories, because I thought if I did, they would think that I was really weird. So I kept them to myself, and they stayed in there all those years until I grew up, and I never thought of becoming a writer. Nobody ever told me a person could grow up to become a writer. But when I was in 6th grade, and we were doing book reports, and even though I liked writing things, we were doing oral book reports, stand up in front of the class and tell about the characters and the theme. I hated themes. I still hate themes. And I was reading, I loved reading, but I was reading the books that I found on my parents' bookshelves, which were not appropriate to report on in 6th grade. And so, as shy as I was then, I stood up in front of my class and I made up a title and characters and a theme, and I always got an A on those reports. And when I was reporting on a book I had really read, I didn't. So I guess that sent me some kind of message anyway. And I know, kids, you know, your teachers are way more tuned in than mine was then, so you're not going to do that. But what I do say to teachers is, you know what? Once a year, let the kids do that. Maybe it'll be fun. Maybe you'll create a new writer out of it. So even then, you know, I had those stories. Although the books that I made up were a lot of horse stories, Dobbin stories. I never read a horse book in my life, but I thought that that's what the other kids were reading, so I would invent, you know, books about horses that didn't exist. So that's pretty much what I was like as a kid. I was a lot like Margaret, and Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And for you women who grew up on those books, you know, I did all those exercises. And guess what? They didn't work. And guess what else I found out? It doesn't matter. By the time you're my age, you're even grateful. And my most autobiographical book is starring Sally J. Friedman as herself. I was Sally. It was a 5th grade teacher who wrote to me when I was already writing, and she said, I'm doing a report on people in creative fields, and I'm asking them what were they like as children. And for the first time I thought, this would be an interesting question to answer, but of course I can't just answer a question. I have to write a book to answer a question. And so that is how I wrote, starring Sally J. Friedman as herself. It was very much my own family and that kind of imaginative child that I was. My mother was not crazy about that book and said, leave me out of your book. But my mother, who was very proud of my career as a writer, my mother didn't want me to write any mothers into my books, because she said, no matter what, my friends will think it's me. So just leave mothers out. I said, Mother, when you're writing about children, you know, a lot of them have mothers, and the mothers are important parts of the book. And so you'll just have to tell your friends, this isn't me.